Oh, it's Tom Meyer, the superintendent of Bellevue Community Schools in Bellevue, Iowa. I'm just making the Believe in the Blue summer update here, the day after our board meeting, which was last night on June 8th. Give you a few highlights of that meeting. Uh, One thing that we talked about, we had a resignation of Tim Roth as a head girls basketball coach. He is stepping down, and we will have a replacement. That will be Rick Ray, who has been an assistant for several years, and for several of those years under Mr. Roth. Should be a great transition for the girls and everyone else. That way, looking forward to his services. We also hired Jeff Kilberg as the Bellevue Elementary custodian, and he will start roughly July 15th. We also have two summer help workers, Alec Rubel and Natalie Sullivan. We also have Derek Sturdivant, who is the new vocal teacher from last month we approved, and he will be doing the high school musical this year. Some things on the agenda we talked about. We talked about the instructional support levy, and to talk about that again next month, and to go ahead with a resolution to participate in that. Ultimately, what that does, that gives the school some extra funds to use for our students' education, resources, and whatever else that may be. It is used ultimately for the direct education of students that way. Um, we also approved a contract with Bridgeview Mental Health for an elementary counseling person down there at the elementary, and that's a positive thing. We've had Bridgeview do this for several years. They're contracted for roughly 320 hours a year at the cost of right around $16,000. We also approved a likely agreement with the Maquoketa Community School District and Lawther Academy or Hillcrest for special education students that we cannot serve here in the district. That is a new thing of an old thing. It's the same idea that we've had in the past. We've used Hillcrest over the last several years. What Lawther used to be called Hillcrest. So we've used those services for the last several years. Our numbers have varied from anywhere from 0 to 4 students, 5 students a year. That way we don't anticipate a lot, but that was an agreement that was made that way. The Department of Ed changed some funding and changed some practice, so we had to form a consortium with some local schools, being Maquoketa, Dellwood, uh, ourselves, Easton Valley, Andrew, Kelmus, Wheatland, Northeast, and Midland were some of the schools involved in that consortium that way to help fund that program. Um, we also talked about adding a second assistant volleyball coach in the future for this upcoming school year. We have not hired anyone for that, but we are looking to potentially hire someone for the high school volleyball assistant position. That'd be a second assistant. Also going over some board policies. The Series 200 and the two this year deal with the board of directors that way. One being going into closed session, some new language we need to include in that, and one being about conflict of interest that way. Just some updated policies that we have to follow based on Iowa Association of School Boards. Nothing dramatic that way, but some things that are there. We also talked about in-town transportation for some of our preschool and some of our elementary students, and still providing that service. We will continue that for next year as well. We approved a one-to-one computer handbook that has been going on for several years that way. This will be the 6th year of the computer handbook. A few changes. We tried to list a more specific price for some of the replacement screens, replacement chargers, things like that. That will also be on the website eventually. We had a discussion on facilities. The facilities committee of the district started meeting in about February of this year. Loris Herrig and Steve Nemers presented last night, or talked about some things along with myself. Last month we had a couple other people there talking about baseball and softball fields at Cole Park. The focus of this overview was on the aspect of the city acquiring some land potentially, and what would they do with that land? Would there ever be a time for a new Bellevue Elementary to be constructed? One thing holding that up is land. Where would you put it? We could put it on our campus here, possibly with some changes that way. This meeting does not mean that we're building a new elementary. Please do not think that we're just looking at some possibilities of updating our elementary and or new construction that way of what we can do to make it more 21st century like, more friendly to our students and our parents of what they can do in the rooms and the school as a whole. It's simply exploration things or some things that were mentioned. Um, that way we are just exploring different ideas and trying to get knowledge of what we could do to update the current building if we need to, and what would it take to build a new elementary. We're just in the planning stages of that and looking at that, but just looking at some different things of how to improve the elementary experience for our students in the Bellevue community. This is just working with the city, just like with Cole Park baseball and softball, really working to pull the different entities in the community together. The baseball and softball fields are really looking at the Bellevue Community Schools, the City of Bellevue, the Bellevue Braves, and Marquette Catholic, and how we can all use our resources together to provide an excellent opportunity, an excellent venue, um, an excellent experience for our students in the community, and to help the city out at the same time and really help promote the city of Bellevue that way. So all working together, and that's a very key thing. I truly believe that in order for a school to be successful, there has to be a link with the community and with the city and with everyone in the community, basically. And that's a strong view that I have, and that's been going very well. I've had great conversations with all different groups that we've talked about, from Marquette Catholic, the City of Bellevue, and the Bellevue Braves, looking at doing some things to the baseball and softball diamond up there in the future. We will talk about that likely at our July board meeting. And that'll be something we'll talk about. Bleachers, we did talk about concession stand, the cost for something like that. We're trying to keep the cost down, yet provide an excellent opportunity, and then also talking about fundraising. So that's about the baseball, softball. The focus last night, like I said, was on land acquisition and what do our students need for the future. So just some general information that way. If you have any questions on that, please give me a call. We're just talking about it right now, what we need to do and what kind of funds it would take to improve something like that way. We also talked about Comet Finance information that way. We went through our expenditures and receipts for the fiscal year through May. We are doing well. Our money coming in is higher and our money going out is lower. So that's always a positive, and that's a great thing. We did talk about the 1.25% new money from the state of Iowa for the school, along with some one-time money, and how that has a negative impact, though, on our overall as we look forward to the future. And continued 1.25% increases for state aid are going to have a significant impact, not just on the Bellevue schools, but all schools across the state of Iowa. We are in good financial shape right now, but with continued 1.25% and not making any changes, it will have a negative impact. So we need to be prepared to adapt some of our ideas of what we're doing, change some things what we're doing, and ultimately trying to make education the best possible, regardless of resources that we have. We need to look at what's the best opportunity for students and how we can provide that for them. Information items I shared with district leadership teams, some different ideas there. I have met with myself and the two principals have met with there's about 13, 14, 15 different staff members on that, certified staff, non-certified staff, talking about the year. We went through the year, had about a meeting once a month that way to talk about a variety of different things and kind of planning ahead for next school year, what some things we want. And one thing we really want to continue is continuing to display that passion with purpose in everything that we do. No matter what position you have, no matter what you're teaching, no matter what you're doing, you have to have a passion for what you do. You have to have the purpose. And then when the passion is shown, it shows to everyone around that way. So it's a very positive thing that way. And we're going to continue that. We'll talk about problem-based learning, collaboration time, standards-based grading, and going on from there that way, and eventually getting to competency-based grading. The interesting thing will be if we think 10 years ahead from now, that'll be 2025, what will school look like? I challenge all of you to think about what will it look like. What will our students look like coming to school? Will they still be sitting in the same classrooms we have? Will things change? I don't know. I don't anticipate it looking exactly like it is right now. Obviously, I do anticipate some changes, and we have to be proactive and be looking ahead to what our students truly need and providing for them that way. So that's one thing. We had an overview of graduation. I will likely put something online about your thoughts on graduation and the 8 o'clock on Saturday nights. Should that be moved up earlier, I will likely be putting a survey out on both Twitter and on Facebook for people to fill out on your input with that. And I'll explain some things. If having it earlier may sound like a good idea, if it's the same weekend as state track in Des Moines, we have an issue if we run some of the later events of getting back on time. But we'll have that discussion that was talked about a little bit. Our graduation is a pretty short program. It's usually somewhere between 40 and 50 minutes. This year I think was right in the middle, about 45. So just some ideas on that. We had a great graduation. I hope you were able to attend. If you were not able to attend, I would encourage you to attend in the near future at a future graduation that way. So talk about summer projects update, doing a bunch of different things. Obviously we're working on the science rooms. We're working on the athletic fields. We worked in there with some fertilizer seeding that way. We're moving some classrooms around. Mr. Schrader's room is coming into the building for most things. His small engines class will stay out in the shop area. Getting a couple new drinking fountains. We're painting a couple bathrooms. We're painting a bathroom, a couple bathrooms, and some other rooms. We did create a collaborative 21st century classroom in our tech lab. We moved some computers to a few classrooms and also to the library. We have some other spots for some of them that are going to go in the future. We have started cleaning, stripping, waxing floors. I haven't started waxing yet. That'll happen probably later on this week, waxing floors at the elementary and at the middle school, high school. So really things are progressing in that regard. We also talked about we are advertising in the Bellevue Herald Leader this week. There will be an advertisement there for the 1996 Chevy Suburban and 1998 Buick LeSabre. The LeSabre has about 221,000 miles on it, and the Chevy Suburban has about 145,000 miles on it. We're seeking sealed bids on those. If anyone would like to purchase them, they are available. The next meeting date will be July 6th at 6:30 p.m. And we'll have an agenda online, obviously, for that and everything like that. Some updates here of some events going on. I strongly encourage you to come out to Bellevue High School and watch the Bellevue teams play baseball and or softball tomorrow. There's a JV doubleheader. That's actually at Cascade at 5. Thursday, we are on the road. Middle school softball is at Iowa City Regina. We play JV and varsity softball and baseball at Wilton on Thursday. Friday, we play middle school softball at home at 10 o'clock against Tipton. The freshmen have a doubleheader at Dubuque Wahlert. Saturday, boys and girls are both in a baseball and softball tournament at Kelmus Wheatland. That starts at boys start at 9 o'clock. The girls start at 9:30. And then on Monday, we have middle school softball home against Easton Valley. And then later on that day, our varsity team, varsity and JV teams, go to Mid Prairie to play. So even though there's not a lot of opportunities this week, check out the Bellevue website at www.bellevue.k12.ia.us to check out the baseball and softball opportunities to come watch our students play. It's great. They enjoy having it. We swept Northeast, 2 varsity baseball games last night and 2 varsity softball games, so we're off to a very good start in the River Valley Conference. If anyone ever has anything, once again, feel free to contact us at any time. I will likely give an update again in a couple weeks, unless something big is going on that I need to share. But it'll be a shorter one than this. This is always the board meeting update that way. That takes a little longer. Thank you for watching today. Have a great summer, and I'll talk to all of you roughly in a couple weeks again, if not sooner. Have a great one.